Welcome back to another video. So it's been a little while since I've done a video, about a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Got a bad chest cold, maybe it was COVID, I don't know, but anyway, I'm still here, feeling better, so here we go. Next artist on the list I want to talk about, and what a way to get back into it, Jimi Hendrix. Now, people's opinion on Jimi Hendrix varies. Some people view him as being just an outrageous, coked up acid head who just did strange things with his equipment. I'm not going to argue that. My personal opinion is very, very different. But Jimi Hendrix does seem to kind of have he's almost like a polar opposite in terms of people who dig him and people who don't. I really dig Jimi Hendrix. I think that Jimi, his brand of playing the guitar, his style, is something that for the time was really truly was revolutionary. Nobody played that instrument like he did. Can people do it now? Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of inventions on the guitar since then. Jimmy Page did some amazing stuff. Of course, Eddie Van Halen, Stevie Ray Vaughan. The list goes on and on. Even, you go back, people like Duane Allman and, those great slide blues guitarists, Eric Clapton. There's no shortage of incredible talent on the guitar, like any instrument, I suppose. But what Jimi Hendrix did when he came along was this. He made the guitar a more human, emotional, relatable instrument, touching the soul. Truly, I mean that. Is he my favorite guitarist? Man, between him and Eddie, I don't know. For very different reasons, I would put them on the same pedestal, Eddie and Jimi Hendrix, but for very different, obvious reasons, as I'm sure you would probably know. But what Jimmy did with the guitar, he did some weird stuff using feedback, using a lot of, he was a great slide guitarist too. Like a blues slide, man, you won't get any better than Jimmy. I say this, when I talk about Jimi Hendrix, I say this. You give all the artists who have played guitar 3 notes, just 3 notes, and do whatever you want with them. You can elongate them, you can play them staccato, you can add effects, you can do whatever you want with them. Jimi Hendrix, more than any artist in the guitar, found a way to relate on an emotional level. He would take those 3 notes and he would touch you with them. And I don't know, maybe you don't want to be touched like that the way Jimmy plays, but Jimi Hendrix playing was truly emotional music for me. And with the band around him, Mitch Mitchell on bass and Nolan on drums and Nolan on bass, they formed a really, really great power trio. Not since Cream had a band come along that had that kind of power, but had more emotion, more feel, and it's because of Jimmy. I thought he was a great singer too. I thought Jimmy had a real bluesy style. A common misconception about Jimi Hendrix, because when you see him on stage, he's all like, giving that hardcore sex face and, burning his guitar and stuff. He was actually, if you know about him, and I've read a lot of books and I've watched a lot of reviews and I've, seen a lot of movies about Jimi Hendrix, he was a very, very funny guy. He was a fun guy. He was a guy who was, you gravitated to because he was so likable and so charming and so upbeat, Did he do drugs? Yeah, of course he did. He was probably high most of the end of his life. But a lot of us are on drugs now, whether it's prescription, whether it's legal, whether it's alcohol. Did that add to or take away from his playing? I don't know. I like to think it added to it. I think that Jimi Hendrix playing was certainly of a psychedelic time, but certainly unique, certainly special. A special place in my heart, Jimi Hendrix. I've got a few albums. Axis, Bold as Love. Now, when this came on the scene, people this is what I think this was the first as the Jimi Hendrix Experience, which is a trio. And there's some great tracks on here. Fantastic playing. Castles Made of Sand is a great one. If 6 Was 9, that's just a classic tune. Look that up. If 6 Was 9, brilliant. Axis, Bold and Love, fantastic album. Interesting thing about this, a little bit of Jeffrey trivia for you. This album has a Hindu theme, a Hindu religious theme. When Jimi Hendrix said that he wanted an Indian album cover, so you can see the full thing there, he wanted a Native American Indian cover. So when they made the album, and they didn't make it a Native Indian American album, they made it a Hindu album, Jimmy's like, yeah, man, yeah, that's cool. I dig that too. I dig it. So that's the kind of guy he was. Great album. Axis Bold as Love. And then before Jimmy died, he made the next album I'm going to talk about, which was his masterpiece. Would he have surpassed this album? I don't know. I really don't. But Electric Ladyland is a fantastic LP. It's got a lot of tracks. It's a double LP. But just listen to some of the stuff on here. Voodoo Child. Voodoo Child, fantastic song. Stevie Ray Vaughan does a great version of that too. What else on here? House Burning Down is a great one. All Along the Watchtower. All Along the Watchtower, of course, is a remake of Bob Dylan. But who wants to listen to Bob Dylan's original when you got Jimi Hendrix remake? And Voodoo Child, one of my favorite tracks, Voodoo Child. This is really a great album. If you're going to cut your teeth with Jimi Hendrix and you kind of want to know what he's about, I'd suggest a Greatest Hits album. There's lots of them. This album here is a Greatest Hits album, and it's one that is sentimental to me because this was the first LP of Jimmy's I've ever bought. And I had to pick it up. Are You Experienced? I Don't Live Today, Voodoo Child, Stepping Stone, Castles Made of Sand, Killing Floor, Purple Haze, Red House, Crosstown Traffic, All Along the Watchtower. This is a really great album. And it's just entitled Jimmy. Now, another great thing about Jimi Hendrix is I worked with a family member of Jimi Hendrix. His name was Tom Collins. And you may have noticed in the news lately that Eleanor Collins, noted Canadian jazz singer, was just immortalized on a postage stamp. I was fortunate enough to work with her son, Tom. Tom and I were good friends when we worked together. He was actually a firearms instructor as well. He's one of those guys that nobody ever said a bad thing about Tom. Really, he was a wonderful man. And from what I've read about his mom and from what I've heard, because I've been on Spotify and listened to a lot of her music, she's a fantastic singer. Fantastic. And Tom Collins as well too. I hear he's a great singer, but I never heard him sing. But anyway, Jimi Hendrix. And I encourage you once again, don't listen to just the radio stuff. Listen to stuff from albums that you've never heard of before. Songs that you won't know. And you'll probably learn something, you know. And what more can I say, you know? Jimi Hendrix, I mean, I know a lot of stories about him, but here's one last noted story. Paul McCartney, the Beatles, they came out with Sgt. Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band, of course, pivotal album, massive album. And Jimi Hendrix, a week later, did a remake of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the song. He learned it in a week. The band did it, and Paul McCartney immediately phoned over to the Monterey Pop Festival that they were organizing at the time and said, "You got to book this guy. Sound unheard, sight unseen. You got to book Jimi Hendrix." Even though he had to fly to England from America to get really famous, they were doing the Monterey Pop Festival. So when Paul McCartney saw that song, it blew his mind. I think he said it was better than the Beatles did, and he learned it like that. So you know, you got your endorsement for Paul McCartney. Jimi Hendrix went to America, played Monterey Pop, did his thing, burned his guitar. It was a religious guitar experience, and the world's never been the same since. A lot of what's behind me owes a big debt to Jimi Hendrix for many reasons. And what else can I say? Legend. Absolute legend. Thanks for watching. I don't know who's coming up. Peace.